friends. Welcome to the Live Free Now show. I'm your host, John Bush, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. And today I am coming at you live from Sedona. Let me see if this light helps. There we go. That's a little better. Coming at you live from Sedona, Arizona. Really beautiful place to be, here with my lovely wife, Rebecca, doing some church work, connecting with the land, having some meetings, exploring some retreats, learning how to better serve our community, and wanted to do the show. We didn't have a live show last week, and this actually is a pre-recorded thing. But on today's show, I want to play the opening speech that I gave at the Exit and Build Land Summit 5, which was at Joel Salatin's Polyface Farms. Incredible event. Extremely moving. We've been covering it here on the show quite a bit. We'll probably drop some of the talks periodically over the next few months, but I wanted to drop this one. It was an opening talk, setting the stage, laying out a few principles that can be applied to the three key themes of the event, which were homesteading and regenerative agriculture, food production, regenerative agriculture, monetizing your land, and leaving a legacy. So I spun up a few key principles that apply to each one of those components and how we can maximize each of those areas in our own lives and our own homestead. That was a pretty solid talk, and you'll hear a funny story about where the inspiration came from, where I was when I was inspired for the talk. So I want to encourage you guys, if you're watching this before August 12th, I want you to join me for the CBDC Opt-Out Challenge. The CBDC Opt-Out Challenge, I'm going live August 12th through the 14th to teach you my 4C strategies to opting out of CBDCs. We'll cover agorism, counter-economics, trading outside the system, keeping the current flowing, keeping the energy flowing as they try to stop us from doing business with one another, from trading. The inside-outside strategy, how to thrive inside the system while building a parallel life outside the system, then eventually make the major switch and swap over. The website, cbdcoptout.com, cbdcoptout.com. And then I recently put out a free report. It's called the 2025 CBDC Threat Report. You see, every year here at Live Free Academy, 2023, 2024, and now 2025, I've done an overview of the state of central bank digital currencies. For this year, I break down the latest moves to implement CBDCs, sometimes through stealth, sometimes direct, indirect, wholesale, retail, public-private partnership. I cover what's happening in the US, what's happening in Canada, what's happening in the UK, the EU, and Australia. So if you happen to be in one of those 5 areas, this is really important for you to know what's coming and, more importantly, what to do to prepare. You can download and watch this for free. You can register to watch for free. livefree.academy/threat report. livefree.academy/threat report. Okay, without further ado, guys, this is about 22 minutes or so. I want to encourage you guys to watch it in full. Really moving, powerful stuff to set the stage for the Land Summit 5. And I want to thank you for listening, whether you're watching live on X, Facebook, YouTube, or catching the podcast at livefreenow.show. Subscribe to the podcast, guys, if you're watching on YouTube and y'all are podcast folks. Listen in the car, listen to your favorite podcatcher. I want to thank you guys for being a part of what we do here at Live Free Academy. All right, here is my opening talk from Land Summit 5. Thanks again for listening to this week's show.
Thank you all so much for being here. We are honored and just delighted to have you all. My name's Rebecca Bush. I'm the producer of the Exit and Build Land Summit. I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to be here with us. It means so much to us. And we would also like to thank Polyface Farm, Joel Salatin, Daniel Salatin and team. Thank you for having us here. There's Joel. And I'd like to introduce, well, perhaps I don't need to introduce, but I would like to welcome to the stage my husband, John Bush, the founder of Live Free Academy, and he will be sharing what this weekend is all about. We are so honored to have you all here again. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And please come on up, John. Yay.
Love you. Wait.
I just want to take a moment to honor my lovely wife who's put so much into making this event possible and all the behind-the-scenes stuff and managed to keep her cool for the most part through it all. So give it up for Rebecca, ladies and gentlemen. Love you. All right. We're good on the recording? All right. Okay, so how is everybody? Yeah. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. I know to kiss the mic. Me and the mic are real close. Been close for a while. So I want to welcome everybody to the Exit and Build Land Summit 5. This is the first land summit that we've done entirely at a farm, because the past few years we do these farm tours, right? But the event is at a convention center, which is great. No shade towards the Bastrop Convention Center. We love them. They treat us really well. But the farm tours are really special for people. So day before, day after, the local farms in Bastrop and communities are opening their doors, and everybody's really learning hands-on. So most people at the events are like, hey, we really want to do more workshops, and you guys bring like 30 speakers, and it's back-to-back talks, and we get tired of sitting there for so long. People always got something to say, but we accept that feedback, of course, and this time the entire event is at a farm, and it's not just at any farm. It's at the world's most famous regenerative farm with quite the character at the helm of it, Mr. Joel Salatin. So thank you for having us here at your home, at your place of business, and really excited to learn quite a bit. You know, a lot of folks are like, hey, John, you must be pretty busy, huh? Yeah, bet you've got some stress going on. And to be honest, I don't know what kind of epiphany happened within me, but I hadn't really been stressed out lately at all. And Becca's doing most of the work. And Joel and his team and his son and all their lovely crew. And this year, unlike any other year, we're not running a live stream concurrently, which is really easy on me, because we always have a crew and stuff, but I'm always, whenever there's a little troubleshooting to do, I'm the one running back there stressing out. But this year, I plan to be much more fully present and learning alongside you guys and deepening relationships and hanging out and really soaking up what this incredible place has to offer. How did it feel just driving in through these rolling hills and the mountains in the distance? Wow. Feels awesome. Like maybe this is what heaven's like. Maybe we should all just stay here and turn these hoop houses into little condos or something. Sure, Joel won't mind. We can contribute. We're a hard-working bunch here. All right, so to be honest, I came up with the talk that I'm going to give while I was sitting on the toilet earlier. Joel's built some pretty luxurious little situations there for us to go enjoy and warm up. So the theme for today's event is 3 parts. The first piece is regenerative agriculture. All right? We're going to be exploring regenerative agriculture. What better place to do so than here at Polyface Farm? But it doesn't stop there. We're also going to talk about monetizing the land, because I've come to find that the money question tends to be the biggest struggle for a whole lot of people. And then the final piece, which is something that's incredibly important, and I just really want us to all align our heart and our soul towards leaving a lasting legacy of liberty, transcending just what's good for us in the present moment and thinking about how our actions affect the future generations to come. Because Lord knows the enemies of liberty are on that wavelength. They got big picture plans, and they're thinking in terms of generations, not in terms of the next election or how we're going to pay rent next month. So I think we need to adopt that big picture thinking. That's what the theme is all about. And then it's like, okay, what kind of twist, what kind of spin, how could I elucidate on this? And while I was sitting on the toilet, warming up, I thought maybe there's 3 key ingredients that we could all have that would really make it easier to regenerate the land, to monetize the land, to earn a good income, prosperity from doing the fruits of our labor. and then to leave a legacy, those 3 key ingredients. And so I'm going to weave a little story, much like when I was sitting on the toilet. This talk I'll be pulling out of my ass, so pardon my French. So I'm going to weave some personal stories and some stories and lessons that I've learned from Joel. And I caught that documentary, Lunatic Farmer by Angel Studios. Have you guys seen that? This is really good. Really good. So we all know Joel more than he knows. So I'm going to share some of the story that I learned from that documentary as well. And those 3 key ingredients. And these are 3 ingredients that could help us with success in any parts of life, but especially when it comes to the theme of this event. Hopefully I remember them. The first one is to believe in yourself. And ultimately, I believe that's the biggest struggle that people have. The biggest obstacle in between people where they are today and where they want to be. It isn't having the money. It isn't knowing how to do A, B, and C and the mechanics and step 1 through 5. It's limiting beliefs. And every time that we reach closer to the person that we want to become, the wealth we want to have, the family and the relationships we want to have, we hit resistance. And it's believing in ourselves that can help push us through that resistance and help us reach new heights of greatness, which I know we all have within us, and not a single one of us is anywhere close to living up to our full potential. So the more we believe in ourselves and believe in each other, the closer we can get to that place. The second ingredient is adopting a long time preference. This is something I learned from the Bitcoin Standard, this book by this, forget the author's name. Somebody help me out here. Anybody? All right, we'll move on. Anyway, it's like a lot of people have a short time preference, and they're just looking for immediate gratification. Money comes in, they want to spend it on going out, on the latest thing. They don't invest it long term. And that is a huge takeaway I got from Joel and his story. That's a multi-generational story that's still, we're living part of that story right now being here, and we're going to hear from Daniel as well. So we got to adopt a long-term time preference. Know that even though it's hard work in the present moment, it's that hard work that will pay off in the future. And then the final piece is something that I have been diving deeper with myself, and something that brings it all together and most definitely helps us push through perseverance and suffering, and that is aligning with a higher power. Maybe it's God, maybe it's Yahweh, maybe it's whatever spiritual belief that you have, but I wholeheartedly believe that the more we see the world as more than just the physical, and we take it into a spiritual level, it really helps to make things click, especially when it comes to the land, which we've been gifted with the privilege by God of stewarding this incredible green earth. When it comes to the money and the income, if we can align how we earn a living with our divine purpose, it makes everything so much more easy and graceful. And then ultimately leaving a legacy. We all have gifts that we've been given by God, and the more we can get out of our own way and pursue those gifts and passions, the more of an impact we'll have on this world, not just in the present moment, but for many years to come. So that's the talk. Thank you. No, just kidding. How much time do we have here? All right. Okay, 15 minutes. Here we go. So, regenerating the land. Wow. So those 3 things. What are we going to do here, John? All right, mix the 3 ingredients into each one of these themes. Okay, here we go. Regenerating the land. You know, the belief in oneself has so much to do with that, because I don't know if your gardening and food production experience has been anything like mine and Rebecca's, but I tell you what, we most definitely learn a whole lot from failing. And there's a lot more plants that went by the wayside, got dried out by the hot Texas sun, got destroyed by the caterpillars than there are plants that produce bountiful fruits. And we're all talking about gardening, of course. It's a different story out here, so that's why we're excited to learn from Joel and his crew. But, you know, we put so much energy, effort, money, and time into the garden, and we're like, you know, we got pretty good organic selection at the grocery store down the street at the HEB. But then we're like, no, we gotta, if shit hits the fan, we're gonna be able to survive if shit hits the fan. And we're like, We're going to survive on like a small basket of cherry tomatoes, couple squash, and boy, that okra sure is a confidence builder in Texas. So you really have to believe in yourself, because the many failures and upsets, if you don't have that confidence and that belief that you're going to be able to figure it out moving forward, a lot of people just give up. And one thing to tie it back into the spiritual side is, like, I've come to find, even if we're not going to produce a whole lot of fruit and be able to feed ourselves, first of all, that's why we have community and build relationships. In fact, quick story, many of you heard from one of our emails, our little micro-intentional community completely fell apart and went down in a ball of flames. And if I was like a insecure guy, I'd be like, oh, we're the intentional community people, and our intentional community failed. I feel like such a fraud. But I'm not, and I'm just going to teach you guys the lessons that were forged in hell. But there were some community members, one in particular, that was resentful that I wasn't there on the ranch enough working. And, you know, every time that we would get a work day in or just tend into this or that, I would be like so prideful and be like, oh, wow, we really got a lot accomplished on this Sunday work day, and I feel grateful that I got the opportunity to take some time away from the office and spend here. But it wasn't enough. You're not doing enough, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, in all honesty, because he was really concerned with crap hitting the fan. Quick note, too, if we get so obsessed with fear of crap hitting the fan and we allow that to dictate and guide our actions, we're only going to manifest more of that which we're trying to escape. But if we take a deep breath and look at the abundance and beauty all around us and realize that even if shit hits the fan tomorrow, we're going to be okay, then it's all good, man. But what I communicated to him was like, you know what I'm doing? I'm not just like at some desk corporate job. We're building really powerful relationships and community bonds to where if shit hits the fan, our food forest, that ain't going to feed us for quite some time, and we'll be able to pull a little plum or two here or there, but it might just be a treat sitting on the porch enjoying the world collapsing around us. But it's those deep community relationships and bonds that are so important, right? But I came to realize, too, it's like working in the garden and working the land and regenerating the land, it's not necessarily about the fruit. It's about enjoying being present with God's creation. And I tell you what, it sure is quite a bit of stress relief and enjoyment just to be there in the land and to contemplate and to think and to sit and to listen and to soak it all up. So that's kind of tying the spiritual piece in as well. But it's the time preference thing that I think gets a lot of people. And to look around and see what Joel's created, and I know it's been created literally over generations, how the land has been transformed and recharged. I think in order for this to actually work for us, we have to be able to project into the future what it's going to be like. And we got to know that all the hard work and the short-term struggle is going to pay off in the long term. So the more that we get off of our phones, we stop scrolling, and we sit with the land, we be with the land, just in a state of being present in the moment with the land, I think the more easy it's going to be able to push through those struggles. So the regenerative of the land is something that we're going to learn a whole lot about, and again, really honored to be here, because what better place to learn about regenerating the land. So when you take this wisdom back with you at home, I want to encourage you to believe in yourself, to push through that perseverance and that struggle, because a lot of it's experimentation. Joel's probably still figuring stuff out, and I guarantee at the beginning he didn't know what the heck he was doing. You can see in that book that he has with all the designs. The designs in the beginning of the book, they're pretty scrappy, and then they start to get a little sophisticated, and you're like, wow, okay, you can kind of see the evolution of all that. So believe in yourself, adopt a long-term time preference. You're going to be putting in a lot of work for very minimal payout, but it's going to start to come together, and in the future, you'll see the fruits of your labor. So you got to see it as an investment. It's a sacrifice in the short term, putting in the work for it to pay off in the future. And then, of course, regenerating the land, that's our role here as human beings on God's green earth. And to see it as a spiritual practice will definitely help you to have a greater sense of well-being. It's my therapy to be out in the garden. It's also my therapy to talk in front of groups like this. So when I get all vulnerable and stuff, that's saving a bill with the therapist. In fact, you guys pay me to hear me do my therapy. So, yeah, it's a great one. All right. talk about monetizing the land, right? All right, so that's the second theme. And when it comes to the money thing, boy, I tell you what, I have struggled financially. And it's funny because all these leftists, when I say anything about money or success, are like, easy for you to say, you're privileged. Oh. And I was like, man, for like 2 or 3 years, I literally lived in a busted school bus. And for a period of that, our urinal was our child's training potty. It was like rough. That was my life in poverty. But I was an entrepreneur, a struggling entrepreneur during that time. Well, still it's a struggle, ups and downs. But I knew that the money piece is so important because it's a big challenge to contemplate higher pursuits and to think about a long time preference and what are we going to do to regenerate our land. Or maybe you're living in an apartment and you have aspirations to buy land, but the money thing, when you're worried about paying bills or the electricity gets shut off, like it got shut off for me far too many times, I'd like to admit, it takes you out of a state of contemplation of creation, and it puts you into an emergency state, fight or flight. And so the money piece is so damn important, but we struggle with it so much. And the number one thing that we can do to overcome it, it isn't learning this, or maybe my product's better, or maybe I need to send more emails or learn some email marketing. It's I need to believe in myself and overcome those limiting beliefs around money. Step out of a scarcity mindset into a place of abundance and have some deep, hard reflection on where did we get these weird ideas about money? Was it our parents fighting at the dinner table over paying the bill or buying this or that, and we had a really negative feeling because of how they fought, and that just gave us, we associated that with money in general? Was it the media? Was it a failure in the past? Remember, you never truly fail until you give up. In fact, failing is the greatest teacher of all. So the number one thing we could do to overcome that money stuff is to believe in ourselves. Believe in ourselves. We're all a bunch of badasses at the end of the day, and more often than not, we're our own worst enemies. That internal monologue in our head is like, you won't be able to figure this out. You're terrible with money. You made a really bad investment and got screwed up. That's probably going to happen again, blah, 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 blah. Well, that same internal thought soundtrack, you could just totally flip the script, and one of the biggest things that's changed my life is been able to control those thoughts. And through mindfulness, when a negative thought pattern comes up about money or anything, you can literally be like, wait a second, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. That's leading me away from my greatness and potential. And you could reprogram those thoughts to be your number one cheerleader. And I swear your entire world will change when you could tap into that alchemy. And then when you have a negative thought, it actually creates an opportunity for growth. So in some ways, you welcome the negative thoughts, and you're like, oh, okay, there's still some work that I have to do. So the belief is 100% important when it comes to money and especially monetizing the land. The other piece is the long time preference. Sometimes it takes work. Sometimes it takes setting money aside. Sometimes it takes shifting how we spend our time, how we spend our money, and putting it more into the pursuit of producing money and prosperity. And then what can make this all more easy and graceful and make you just shine is if you can determine what I call your divine purpose. I learned this from Napoleon Hill. He calls it your definite purpose, your clearly defined purpose. And he says to act with a definiteness of purpose. So you have your purpose defined. What keeps you up at night? It's kind of like your why. Somebody said, you know it's your why if it makes you cry. I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. And so for me, like, it's leaving a legacy for my kids and showing up for my kids. But I recently had this epiphany where I was like, I got to work hard so my kids are never in poverty again. I give them a better future and we can do all this stuff. And they're just like, we just want to hang out, Dad. Like, so I'm kind of working on that myself and hanging out more. But when you can find not only your definite purpose, which is like a self-development intellectual thing, but your divine purpose, why God has put you on this planet, what gifts you have to deliver the world, and you can align with that and earn a living from that, then you've really tapped into something special. So that's how a higher power and a spiritual side can help us push through when it comes to monetizing the land. And I want to say one more thing on that as well, the struggle, the belief, something that was extremely touching in the Salatin story, not just Joel's, but the Salatin story. When his father acquired this land, he had ambitions to to have it be a full-time job, full-time farmer. That's what he wanted for his family. But he wasn't able to pull it off because he was tied to the full-time job in town. And it actually took a generation. He laid the seeds and taught his son and led his son to believe in himself to where his father didn't pull it off, but the son did. And in many ways, when we can take ourselves outside to talk about legacy, it's not just about what we're doing in the present moment. It's about what are we teaching our children. So if we're not able to pull it off, at least they can carry the torch and make it happen in the future. And now Joel is leaving that same lesson and carrying on the legacy with his son Daniel, which is so incredible to see as a father myself. And if you don't have children, then you leave a legacy for your community, right? You leave a legacy for those around you. You have such an impact on them that they carry on your work well beyond your time on this earth. All right, and then the final piece is leaving a legacy. So that segues in nicely. A lot of folks, to go back to the belief, we're like battling our own demons, and there's just so much insecurity within all of us. And I like public speaking too, and teaching workshops and master classes, because oftentimes I'll be teaching something, and then that little internal voice in my head's like, well, you're still insecure about this and that, John. So this is for me just as much as it's for you as well. But when it comes to legacy, a lot of times we feel so small because we've just been beat up throughout life that we're like, who am I to leave a legacy on the future? What legacy do I have to live? But I just want to remind you guys, we all have the spark of creation within us. There's so much beauty and wonder in us, each and every one of us. I know some of you more than I know the others, but I know just looking around this group, like it's such a beautiful, powerful, amazing group, but that's been taught out of us. It's been conditioned out of us. It's been socially engineered out of us. And the more that we can remember who we truly are, the more of a powerful legacy we'll be able to leave on the future. So it's about remembering, it's about believing. And if you want to leave a legacy, I tell you what, you're really going to have to think long-term, big picture. That's why all these themes tie in together, because it makes it easier for us to think about the big picture and long-term if we're not in emergency scrambling mode to pay the bills, right? So let's get the land right, let's get the money right, and then let's think beyond what we're doing today. It's investing in today for a payout, not just tomorrow, right? And that's what we think about with business. Let's invest in this. Let's launch this campaign. Let's bring on this new product line. Let's experiment with a business or a side hustle. And hopefully it'll pay off in 3 months, 6 months, a year. But when we think about time preference when it comes to legacy, we're literally thinking generationally. There's this native indigenous expression I learned from Derek Bros, and it's like, you got to contemplate how your actions today affect the future 7 generations. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, whoa, that's such a big, grand way of thinking. And like I shared before, the predator class, the opposition to what it is that we're building, they got 100-year plans and 1,000-year plans. They got these bloodlines and these secret society groups, and they're grooming their children to take on the mission and the mantle, and they're doing darkness and they're doing evil. But they most definitely have a high time preference, and part of their agenda is to inflate the currency, to have licensing and all sorts of crappy taxation regimes to make it hard for us to do that. But we can push through that, especially if we're operating in the private realm. That makes it easier to do that as well. So I just really want to encourage you to just expand that time preference. Look beyond just you and what's best for you, but let's not negate the virtue of selfishness, right? We all want to make lives better for ourselves. We want to be comfortable. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. But let's use our life as a vessel, as an opportunity, as a vehicle to create a better future, not just for ourselves, not just for our bloodline, but for humanity. Because I tell you what, folks, no matter where you fall when it comes to spirituality, there are dark and evil forces, and unfortunately they have a grip on the most powerful institutions of society, but there's one that they don't have control over. That's humanity and the soul that we all have. And this is our opportunity to make a difference on this planet. And the more quickly we believe in ourselves, the more quickly we can take ourselves out of what are we going to do today and how are we going to bring about pleasure today and how are we going to pay the bills today and pull that time preference out. And the more that we remember that we have that spark of divine light within us, we're all God's children, I strongly believe that it's our destiny and we'll be able to exit this beast system and build the world that we all deserve. And so I want to thank you for gathering here on this sacred land. And we've got an incredible weekend ahead of us. So that's what I have to share for you guys, and thanks for listening.